Hello class, this is Mr. Garcia. The purpose of this video will be to go over the slides or PowerPoint slides for the chapter on human evolution or hominin evolution. We will be going over slides, looking at some pictures, and discussing some similarities between humans, several types of other primates, and try to make sense of how we can say that humans and less complex primates are related. Now, when we talk about primates, we first have to identify some characteristics that all primates share. If we look at the picture, we can just by looking at their hands, see a lot of similarities. For example, primates have plenty of manual dexterity. We can see that all of them have 5 digits on each hand and foot. They have flat nails and sensitive areas on the ends of their digits. And finally, they have first digits that are considered opposable. By opposable, we are talking, about, of course, about the human thumb and how it opposes, or it is in a slightly facing a slightly or pointing to a slightly different direction than the other fingers. In terms of senses, primates rely more on vision, or much more on vision, not so much on smell or hearing as a dog would, or other species of animals would. Primates also have binocular vision, which means that their eyes are both facing forward, which helps give them greater depth perception. They have color vision; they can see things in color. They have decreased sense of smell, again compared to other organisms, to other animals, and their teeth are reduced in size and usually are unspecialized. This simply means that their teeth are not specialized to eat a specific type of food. In terms of locomotion, we say that primates have flexible bodies. They also have limber shoulders and hips, and all primates except for humans walk on all 4 limbs. We can see here a photo of a human and a chimpanzee, and out of the two, again, both are primates, but the human is walking on both legs, or on 2 legs, whereas the chimpanzee is walking on 4. Now, primates also have complex brain and behaviors, or have a complex brain and behaviors. Now, we say that they have larger brains in relation to their body size when we compare them to other species, to other organisms. They also have larger areas of their brain devoted to memory and coordination, both in their arms and legs. We know that they also have really good problem-solving abilities. We can see a black and white photo of an experiment that was done a long time ago, where a chimpanzee was challenged to reach a set of bananas hanging from the ceiling, and then the chimpanzee was successfully able to reach them by simply stacking up some boxes. And then, of course, we say that they also have a well-developed social behavior, again, thanks to their complex brain capacity. Now, primates have a reproductive rate that is also different to a lot of other species of animals. For one, they have fewer offspring. You can think of how many puppies a dog would have, or how many kittens a cat would have. And when you look at primates, they usually have offspring 1 at a time, or maybe 2 at a time. This, of course, includes humans as well. And we say that newborns are dependent on their mothers for an extended period of time. A puppy can be weaned or separated from its mother. It doesn't have to be nursed anymore after about 7 or 8 weeks. In the case of primates, like, again, orangutans or chimpanzees, it takes about 4 or 5 years for a chimpanzee to become fully independent from its mother. Now, within the primates, we have a general group of primates known as the haplorhines. And the haplorhines will include the tarsiers, the monkeys, and the apes. Now, the apes, that's the category that we fall under, will include gibbons. That's the first picture we have underneath. Orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees, and humans. Now, we also have a group of haplorhines known as anthropoids. And these anthropoids are split into the New World monkeys and the Old World monkeys. And these New World monkeys are believed to be, or actually are considered, a group of about 60 species of arboreal monkeys. That means that they live mostly in trees. They inhabit the tropical forests of Mexico, Central America, and South America. And they are distinguished by their prehensile tails. And again, a prehensile tail, as we can see in the picture, is a tail that is very skilled at simply grabbing onto things. For example, to just hang off of a branch. Now we spoke about the New World monkeys. Now we have the Old World monkeys, and these live throughout Asia and in Africa. Again, they're diurnal. Again, that means that they're mostly active during the day, and just like the New World monkeys, they live in social groups. Now their noses, on the other hand, tend to be narrower, and their bodies are usually much larger. None have prehensile tails, and some have no tails. And then most old world monkeys have opposable digits, just like us. Now, apes have longer arms, and keep in mind, apes is basically the category that we fall under. They have longer arms and legs, barrel-shaped chests, no tails, and flexible wrists. Highly social and have complex vocalizations, and they're classified into two subcategories. We have the lesser apes and the great apes, and again, it is humans that fall, or it is under great apes that humans fall. As for the lesser apes, some examples, or at least one example, is the Asian gibbon. They generally move from branch to branch using a hand-over-hand swinging motion called brachiation. And then we have, of course, the great apes. This includes orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees, and finally humans. Now we also have the groups known as the hominoids. These include all non-monkey anthropoids, and then the living and extinct gibbons, orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas, and humans. So again, hominoids is a large category that includes all of those species. Now, scientists use fossils and biochemical data to determine when ancestral hominoids diverged. Again, they use fossils like the ones we see in this illustration, and biochemical data like we saw before when we were talking about molecular clocks. They are comparing either sequences of DNA or nucleotides, or sequences of amino acids between species to determine how closely related or how far away they are from each other genetically. But the main piece of evidence that we have here are the fossils. So again, determine the ancestry of our ancient closest ancestors. Now, hominins are said to be the lineage that most likely led to humans splitting off from the other African apes sometime between 8 and 5 million years ago. So again, we have this group of hominins, and these were the group of primates that divided, or I should say the group of apes, maybe to be more specific, the group of apes that split apart from other African apes. And then it was these hominins that over time became more and more complex, approaching over time more what a human is. We said that hominins have bigger brains, or had at least bigger brains, thinner and flatter faces, smaller teeth, high manual dexterity. Therefore, they were better at perhaps building and using tools. And they were bipedal. Again, bipedal means that they could walk on two legs. Now, we may ask ourselves, why did bipedalism had to be a characteristic of humans at one point, or why did we have to at one point become bipedal? And then we have some possible explanations for this. We believe that maybe a change in environments might have played a minor role in this change from walking on four legs to bipedalism. And we simply say that most successful hominins, which again ended up becoming humans, might have been those that evolved on the edge of the forest and of the savannah. And again, in the savannah, they no longer had need for hiding, perhaps behind a rock, behind a small tree, or behind a bush. But instead, now that they lived in the savannah, they benefited more from simply walking on two legs, so that they could see farther away on the horizon, be it to notice whether or not there was something chasing them or about to chase them, and to identify prey, things that they would want to go ahead and hunt as part of their daily activities. We actually have some hominin fossils that have been found. One of these is Australopithecines, and Australopithecines is said to have lived in east, central, and southern parts of Africa between 4.2 and 1 million years ago. These were small creatures, and they said to have had ape-like brains and jaws. Teeth and limb joints were human-like. That simply means that, like we see in the photo, they were much more like our teeth than the teeth of, say, a chimpanzee. Now, other fossils that were found that again give us evidence of our ancient past. The first Australopithecine fossil discovered was known as tongue baby. And then it was simply given this name, genus and species, scientific name of Australopithecus africanus, likely living between 3.3 2.3 million years ago. And then we have, of course, the picture on the right, which is Lucy, the fossil of Lucy, the one hominin coined or given the name of Lucy. She is said to have had, or it's said to have been, the most complete fossil ever found, Australopithecine fossil ever found, given that they were able to find so many pieces of this fossil. She was a member of the species Australopithecus afarensis, or Australopithecus afarensis, which again lived between 4 and 2.9 million years ago. Up next, we have the genus Homo, and again, the genus, when we talk about genus, when we're basically giving the scientific name to a species, we have genus, and then we have species. So that means that a lot of organisms, a lot of animals, or a lot of organisms that look a lot, or looked a lot like we do, they share that same genus as we do. Again, the genus Homo. In our case, we are Homo sapiens. And then we say that the African environment became considerably cooler between 3 and 2.5 million years ago. And as a result of that cooling, then some changes had to occur. We need to remember that from our previous chapter on natural selection, is that as environments change, species are bound to actually or also experience some changes over time. Now, Homo species, again, we fall under this category as Homo sapiens. They had bigger brains, lighter skeletons, flatter faces, and smaller teeth than their Australopithecine ancestors. Now, Homo habilis lived in Africa between about 2.4 and 1.4 million years ago. Homo habilis is another species that again shares the genus that we do, that Homo genus. And then their brains were about an average size of 650 cube centimeters. They had a smaller brow, reduced jaw, and then a flatter face. And they also had more human-like teeth and were small, long arms, and retained the ability to climb trees. And here's a picture of Homo habilis. Now, Homo ergaster emerged within 500,000 years of Homo habilis. These were taller than Homo habilis. These were also lighter, had longer legs and shorter arms. Again, more similar to us. And their brain was larger, averaging about 1,000 cube centimeters. Again, this is compared to the 650 cube centimeters of Homo habilis in terms of the size of their brains. And here's a picture of Homo ergaster, which, if you notice, looks a lot more like us than Homo habilis did. Now, Homo ergaster appears to have been the first African Homo species to migrate out of Africa. We say that Eurasian forms of this species of Homo ergaster are called Homo erectus. Now, Homo erectus lived between 1.8 million and 400,000 years ago. Brain capacity of Homo erectus ranged from about 900 cube centimeters to about 1,100 cube centimeters. That means that their brain sizes were about the same size as Homo ergaster. They had a longer skull, a lower forehead, and they had thicker facial bones and a prominent brow ridge. After that, we came to Homo neanderthalensis, which evolved exclusively in Europe and Asia about 200,000 years ago. And if you notice, these look even more human-like. They were shorter, but had more muscle mass. They had larger brains than modern humans, and they had thick skulls, bony brow ridges, and large noses. Eventually, we arrive at the emergence of modern humans. Homo sapiens, which is again our scientific name, is characterized by a more slender appearance than all other Homo species. We have thinner skeletons, rounder skulls, and smaller faces with prominent chins. The brain capacity, or our brain capacity, ended up averaging about 1,350 cube centimeters. And we appear in the fossil record in what is about Ethiopia, if we date back to our oldest fossil of a human, of a Homo sapiens. It was about 195,000 years ago. Now we have something known as the out of Africa hypothesis, and this out of Africa hypothesis states that about 200,000 years ago, a morphologically diverse genus of hominins were present. This means that we have several hominins. Again, keep in mind that hominins are not as simple as chimpanzees or gorillas or orangutans. These were more advanced apes, more similar to us than to those other apes. These were still present and just scattered throughout the world. Now, about 30,000 years ago, we only ended up with modern humans. These were the only ones that remained out of all those species. Modern humans evolved only once in Africa, and then migrated. That's where we have that's where the out of Africa hypothesis comes into play. All humans alive today are thought to have migrated from Africa. In terms of our human ancestry, if we were to sort of trace back our DNA, our genetic information, all the way back to that very first human, we can simply look at the mitochondrial DNA. Keep in mind, like we mentioned before, mitochondrial DNA means that it is the DNA found inside the mitochondria. When we were talking about the endosymbiotic theory, we said that mitochondria had their own DNA. We believe that, at least according to the endosymbiotic theory, that mitochondria came from the outside. They used to be bacteria. They had their own DNA. So they brought with them that DNA, which is now residing inside every single one of our cells. So that DNA can be traced back, our mitochondrial DNA can be traced back to basically a single organism, a single human that had it hundreds of thousands of years ago. And we say that Homo sapiens emerged or came from Africa about 200,000 years ago. And that very first Homo sapien from which we all came 200,000 years ago is coined or has been given the hypothetical name of mitochondrial Eve. The Cro-Magnons, these were early modern humans who expressed themselves symbolically and also artistically. We have seen some other paintings and photographs, and these developed or were able to develop sophisticated tools and weapons. These were the first to fish, the first to tailor clothing, and the first to domesticate animals from the wild. Well, that's about it. Please make sure that you submit your form before you close your tabs. If you missed any questions, or if any blank was left blank, you may simply rewind the video and then find the question that you're missing or the bullet point that you're missing.